Video game music is often discussed alongside film or TV music, which makes sense since they all contribute to the experience of a multi-dimensional piece of media, but video games are set apart from all of this in a special way that provides a unique challenge to composers. The player controls the rate at which the game is experienced. To some degree, depending on the game, we often move along levels and environments at our own pace. It's fine to have a single looping piece of music where the pace is regulated by the gameplay, but in a game where exploration is encouraged and a wide variety of options are available to you, it's often the case that a single piece of music may not be fitting for the experience as a whole. This problem is often solved through something called dynamic music. Dynamic music is simply the programming of a piece of music to be altered in some way depending on the actions a player may take. This often requires the composer to write many different sections for a single piece of music so that the music can shift in tone alongside the player's actions. It can be an incredibly complicated thing to write and implement properly, but today I want to discuss a much simpler, more subtle form of this approach. NieR Automata makes use of this dynamic music in a manner that, while technically unimpressive, has a remarkable effect on the player. It does this not by changing the music's form or sections, but by simply adding or removing instruments depending on where you're at and what you're doing. Take the amusement park stage, for instance. While in the center of the action, we hear the full arrangement with electronic drums, vocals, and so on. However, ducking into an alley removes these drums, and speaking to the robots ducks the lyrics for a moment. Rather than simply making the music quieter, the reduced complexity of the arrangement itself unconsciously changes the player's perception of that particular area. Whether this calms you or makes you more unnerved is up to you. The NieR series isn't the only one to do this, however. It's quite popular in Nintendo games. In Super Mario Sunshine, most stages' music have bongos added to it when you ride Yoshi. In the more recent Splatoon 2, the tutorial music begins with only bass and drums and slowly adds other instruments, developing the complexity of each instrument's part as you progress before calming down once more when you reach the end. One practical advantage of this sort of dynamic writing is, obviously, that you have less to write. If you can write a full arrangement and then remove instruments from there, it saves a lot more time than having to write many new sections. Additionally, it serves as something of a middle ground between fully dynamic music and non-dynamic. The consistency of a single looping track aids immersion in situations where the environment doesn't change dramatically, and you can still gain some control over the player's emotional response by varying the complexity of the arrangement itself. Try taking a closer listen to games you've played before where the music felt seamless. It might have been dynamic, and if the composers and programmers did their job, you probably never even noticed.